Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in another example of Boris Johnson trying to become Donald Trump's mini-me, the Prime Minister appears to weaponise the racist elements in this country in order to continue his attempts to divide the country. And now this is another issue where there is no fence to sit on. Everyone is on one side or another, regardless of whether or not they wish to be. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So just before the weekend, when a number of Black Lives Matter protests were planned, Boris Johnson went on the offensive against those taking umbrage at racist symbols in our public spaces, including now Winston Churchill. Now, on a personal level on that point, what I would have to say is that my personal view when it comes to some of these statues. So Winston Churchill, for example, his statue represents his uniting not only of this country with his decision to form a cross-party government of national unity, but also his uniting of nations, first in war and then in peace afterwards. As such, I don't personally consider his statue to be celebrating racism in any form. That being said, let us make no bones about this. Not only was he a massive racist, but a massive racist that caused a huge loss of life. Huge. And also those views were not exactly hidden away. As such, if we're just going to have a simple situation here, if we're just going to simplify it and say that as a country, we don't want to venerate any racists, even if what they're more famous for is something more positive, then I'm not opposed to his statue being taken to a museum in line with what one of his descendants has been saying this weekend. But, you know, there's no nuanced view being taken by Boris Johnson on this. This is the man who says nothing about the hurt caused to ethnic minorities in this country, or someone who lifts a finger to deal with the problems we have in fighting the pandemic. He went on a massive rant a couple of days ago about those protesting against the statues of racists. Of course, he had personal reasons to stoke these tensions as well. His COVID response is failing badly, both in terms of lives lost as well as the economic damage. Both are far higher than for comparable countries in Europe, exposing the lie that any measures you take are a fine balancing act between lives and the economy, because, well, we have trashed both severely. So it's nice for him to be able to distract from the failures that unite the country against him by jumping on a bandwagon that he can use to turn the country against each other. And his dog whistling seems to have had the desired effect, because yesterday, you know, we were subject to footage throughout the day of far-right protesters descending on London, as well as some other cities as well, but London had the worst of it. You know, verbally and physically attacking the police and throwing up Nazi salutes at the cenotaph. The cenotaph, you know, a shrine to those fallen in war, with one of the most notable conflicts being against the Nazi regime and ideology, and the now hidden statue of a man who fought against this regime. Not just because it was his job at the time as Prime Minister, he had argued against the Nazi regime leading up to the conflict. And who are his champions? Those who admire the Nazi ideology. These are the people apparently standing up for Churchill. I'm sure he'd be delighted. So much do they admire the Nazi ideology that they are not only prepared, but desire to be seen in public, filmed, clearly showing where their actual loyalties lie. So, after all the attacks from right-wing commentators, government ministers and newspapers about a traffic light that knocked a police officer from their horse last week, I was all set to read the condemnation from these people on the far right about the thugs shouting and pushing the police and desecrating the cenotaph, and another memorial as well, which I'll come to. No, didn't really do anything. Boris Johnson, very late on in the day, said something about, oh yeah, they'll face the full way, you know, force of the law. Very late on. Not while they were happening. Not trying to, you know, say we're opposed to this. No. After. You know. And I mean, so obviously I'm recording this on the day it's happened as well. So when you watch this, the Sunday papers will be out. can't imagine that the likes of the Daily Mail are going to have a piece attacking these thugs in the same way that they attacked peaceful protesters the week before. Unless, of course, they need to distract something, from the government is getting badly wrong. But at the same time, Daily Mail don't seem to be covering for the government at the moment. But anyway, look at this one behind me, for example. As the guy who throws the first swing then backs away, letting his dimmer mates wade in to take the counter charge. And as the day went on, as I say, while this was happening, we didn't get a word of condemnation against these white supremacists. Not a word of fury about the police who were attacked. Not so much of a mutter against their attempts to recreate the Nuremberg rallies. And it's exactly the same as Trump's America, isn't it? But without the guns, at least. A peaceful protest is to be attacked in the severest way as wholly unpatriotic, if it's by a group that, isn't exactly your supporter. But violent acts against the state are to be either ignored or even excused if they are your supporters. And the media are complicit in this as well. So as this was unfolding, both Sky News and the BBC were reporting these thugs as out there to protect statues. They'd gone along to London and Bristol and turned out in Glasgow and other cities as well to protect statues. Absolute rubbish. They went there for a fight. They weren't protecting statues from anti-racism protesters. How do I know? Because there weren't any there. You can see from the footage there were the so-called statue lovers, and there was the police. That was it. There were no anti-racism protesters there. Only the thugs, the police, and the journalists in attendance. And apart from anything else, look at where they all end up. Look at all this footage. Where are the statues? They're not at the statues. They're at war memorials, throwing up Nazi salutes. They're basically wherever the police are. What for? Who's been threatening those statues? Why did they attack the police? The police weren't attacking the statues. Why attack the police? And you can see from the footage as well, these people were attacking the police. There was no provocation. The police were just standing there, showing impressive restraint even when they were attacked. And again, you could see the planning in it all. In every single wave of attack on the police, it's the same thing you notice. They G each other up, one goes in for a swing and then melts back into the crowd, never to be seen again as those around them surge forward for a free hit themselves. There's no loss of temper, no hot-blooded reaction to something happening. It's all planned and choreographed. They attacked completely without provocation because that's what they wanted. That's what they went there for a fight. These are the same people who go to football matches to try and start a fight with the other team's supporters, or go to the pub for a drunken brawl. And in another example of, these thugs blowing apart the notion that they care a fig about memorials, one of them was recorded pissing on a memorial to the police officer who was killed defending Westminster from a terrorist attack quite recently at Keith Palmer. So all of this was like moths to the flame. They know the government and much of the media won't really condemn them for their actions. Most of them, nothing will happen to. They're like vigilantes. It's a chance to have a punch-up, to hurt someone with a low chance of facing a criminal record for it. They're exactly the same people who gave English football such a bad name when I was growing up in the 80s. It's not necessarily perfect now, but it was hideous in the 80s. So we have yet another battle in the UK. And against the same foes, it's always the same people. Because make no mistake, these are the same dickheads who were fighting on the terraces in the 80s, the same dickheads who allowed Brexit to happen, the same dickheads who have been shouting racist abuse at everyone since the Brexit referendum, never miss a chance to embarrass our country, who prop up a government that have dismantled our healthcare service in the years leading up to the most serious healthcare crisis of my lifetime. Different battle, but same enemies, same people. Because these people are the enemies of a moderate Britain. Just like any extremists in their own country. They hate. That's it. That's it. They just hate. They hate foreigners, but they also hate their own compatriots. They just hate. They're just hate-filled monsters. They are an offence to any genuine patriot in Britain because they are making us look like a nation of intolerant, vile racists. And their voices and arguments will be amplified by both the government and the media. So there is no neutrality on this, because we know that the media will amplify them. So people have a choice. They can either oppose it in your own way. You don't have to go out and protest, particularly at the moment. It can be as simple as writing to your MP and asking them to condemn this behaviour and rhetoric. Or you can stay silent, and by doing so support it, because their message is going to be broadcast loud and clear throughout the country. It's only individuals that can counter it. That's my view on it anyway. There are no fences in the middle of a battle. But anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.